Now then, soft southern shites, who's it gammon?
Now then, bonny lads.
I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Welcome to the Scuffle at Sandy Bottom. Here we are
You're
with
still
another.
not showing.
I
You're still not
know, I
showing your
know,
screen.
I know. I'm rank amateur. Here we are with another battle report that's running as well as they normally do. There you go. Now you can see it.
Right.
Whoops, and my camera's just fallen over. For a bit of context, it's about 11 o'clock at night, and I think it's taken a few goes to get here, hasn't it?
Yes, there was various hurdles.
There were, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
children and other people's children, and banks and random phone
thanks.
conversations.
And yeah, children to be and curries to be eaten.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
But we're
So,
here now.
yep, with another Infernal Dwarves Warriors of the Dark Gods matchup. I think both pretty settled on our lists. So I think it was just really rolling up our sleeves and getting used to how they work against each other.
Yeah, there are very few changes. I think only one little change that I made in my list from the last list. Um,
Uh-huh.
uh, yeah, so I think it's changed very little.
What did you change? I
Um,
think you switched some banners around, did you? Was it?
No, the only thing I did is on my Forsworn, I changed halberds for great weapons because they're the same number of points. So I just thought I'd flip them to see if it made any difference. But
Oh, yeah.
apart from that, it's literally the same as last time.
Cool. Nice one.
Um, I
Um,
am, and this is hot off the press. This is news. I'm running 3 Feldrax and 4 Chosen Knights because that's all I have. But actually, downstairs, I'm now in the middle of creating a 4th Feldrak and a 5th Chosen Knight. So we may see a change in my list next time.
well, how are you going to pay for these marvelous toys?
I've already paid for them. I already paid for them. They're downstairs being painted.
No, you Wally. I mean, what are you going to take out your army list to make room for them?
Oh, I see. I see. And less important things.
We
I
could
don't
just
know.
play 5,000 points instead.
We could, or 5001.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That's a nice
um,
compact army, and yeah, it's quick for you to put down, isn't it?
yeah, it's good. I mean, the reason why I've chosen I made that little change is that I think we haven't really seen your list yet, but observers will have noticed your kink for very large models. And I don't know if I've succumbed to the psychology, but it just seems you've got all these massive things that are really, really high resilience that I never really managed to take down. In the previous battle, the Feldrax with the great weapons have been a real threat against those things because I know that you've got the engine, you've got the bastion, you've got the Titan, you've got a thing on a bull or a great bull, and you've got these great big things. And if I just charge them in with warriors with hand weapons, there's very little chance of actually doing any damage. So I've got these larger things with great weapons. I think the idea was that I knew that the Feldrax would be a big threat. And so I wanted to have more than one big threat so you weren't just hurling everything at the Feldrax right at the start. So I thought if I put great weapons on because at the moment I've got the Doom Lord with a halberd and he's great.
He's awesome.
Um, he's awesome. But then the Force one are really just meat for him. And the idea was to give them a job to do, something that they're actually a threat, and to have 2 units which can legitimately threaten your great big scary monsters.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that kind of made logical sense.
I certainly think that with great weapons now, they match up much more in terms of targets with Doom Lord, because he's got strength 7 AP 4, and with halberds the Forswarm will what strength 5 AP 2,
Yeah.
and I just so like yeah, it kind of they wanted to go after different things, I guess.
Mm.
Um,
It was like having, you know, when you play 40k and you've got in the same unit, you've got bolters and an autocannon.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
well, I could shoot at the tank, but the bolter shots are wasted. Then
yeah, exactly.
if I shoot at an infantry, then there's no point in me having the autocannon.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's a bit like that.
It's like,
So yeah, that
well, your bolters killed 4 orcs and your las cannon killed an orc. Well done.
yeah, well done. Yeah, exactly. Um, so I made
Yeah.
that little change, but apart from that, yeah, I mean, in terms of what it looks like, it's identical. They've got
I think the
different
last
weapons.
battle
That's all.
report you had different banners though. You had some more toys on your chosen lord on the last battle report. I think you had the trophy rack and the immortal gauntlets, and the warriors units had
Oh,
ether icons.
yeah, maybe I've tried the immortal gauntlets, but actually, you don't have that many Aegis saves, and obviously, I'd never want to use flaming attacks on you. So the immortal gauntlets, it feels like a nice thing to have synergy with shield breaker,
Yeah.
that I can force you. You know, I've got the AP6, and then I can force you to reroll any Aegises, and that seems like a nice thing. But you don't actually have that many Aegises. Maybe if I was fighting a different army that was using a lot of Aegis, then it would be a nice synergy. But I didn't actually use it, so I took it away.
Fair enough. Cool. And then it afforded you zealots banners, which I think are a must.
Yeah, um, I'm the do that's not, it seems like it's a good idea on paper, but often when by the time they actually get into combat, they don't have that many ranks anyway. So yeah, especially if they've got blunderbusses, you know, facing them as they charge in, and there's a stand and shoot from all those blunderbusses. There's barely a rank left by the time they get into contact with anybody. But yeah, I'll persevere with that. It's with a unit of 20, with quite a big unit, it does make a lot of sense to use the zealots banner.
It lets you go 5 wide, doesn't it, and still get 21 attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So it lets you just be really compact with your warriors, but still getting a load of attacks.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. It is good, and the ether icons, they're only 10 points. So if you've just got a few points to make up, you just scatter them around. Anybody who hasn't got a banner, stick an ether icon on them, because
Yeah,
they're only
exactly.
a few points.
It's just an umbrella, isn't
Especially,
it? Here's your magic umbrella. Off you go. Go on.
yeah, it's just worth having for that amount of points. I think it's quite good, especially because you've got quite a lot of magic in this list that you use. It's just nice to just have it. And the Stalker standard, because that's the unit that the Chosen Lord goes in. And you don't want to lose the Chosen Knights are so expensive that you don't want to be losing wounds off a Chosen Knight for just tripping over a log or something.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No,
I
that's
think
good.
with such, yeah. And your list is reasonably similar.
Well, no, because I'd always been playing a pyromancy master, and so I'd swapped it out for 3 adepts instead.
Mhm.
Because I could never make my mind up, and I always felt like I kept looking at occultism and going, "Oh, I've got a pyromancy master, and I've got an adept of it was witchcraft, and then it was alchemy." But then I keep looking at occultism and going, "Yeah, I really need occultism as well because that hand of glory spell is brilliant." You know, if I could put an Aegis save on my infernal engine, I'd just be like happy as a pig in shit. That'd be great, you know. Just an unkillable brick with a magical save, that'd be ace. Or the slaves, you know.
Immortal Gauntlets. Oh, no, I didn't take it.
Yeah, it would have been good. Yeah, and I just thought you pay a lot for a wizard master, and I basically sat down and thought, can I cope without spells 5 and 6 in pyromancy? Because obviously number 5 is Scorching Salvo, where you do like a small number of fire wounds to every unit within 24 inches. So it destroys like Sylvan Elf armies. And I thought, well, if I take this to a tournament, you know, how am I going to deal with like Sylvan Elves? And then number 6 is where you just do like a 6x6 Inferno on a unit, enveloping embers. And I just thought, well, there's in occultism, there's Pentagram of Pain, which is a bit like a sort of smaller version of Scorching Salvo. You can basically boost it to do like, I think it's D6 strength 4 hits to every enemy unit within 12 inches, I think. So I thought there's that. and if I take a Pyromancy Adept, make sure I've got plenty, I've got plenty of shooting, got the Titan mortar on the engine, I reckon I can make up for it. So I thought I'd just have a go at not having a master. The extra channel's nice. So so got my alchemy adept on the bastion just because I really wanted to make another really big model. The occultism adept is the prophet on the bull, the little bull. He's fairly fighty with the flame of the east because it's the volcanic embrace, so it doesn't need to roll to hit. And then I made this little overlord model standing on a chest full of guns. I thought I'll play an overlord. Sadly, he won't be appearing in my next game because it was a bit of a nice to have, and I don't think I really need him. So the third adept is the Vassal Conjurer is now Pyromancy, which is great because the spell I always want to throw loads of dice at is Flaming Swords, and I can quite happily throw 5 dice at Flaming Swords on a 200-point Conjurer and not worry about him getting sucked off into the void by Cthulhu or something. So I was pretty happy with it. I think I'll stick with the triple adept thing, and then everything else is basically the same. I mean, I love having a big unit of great weapon dwarves with blunderbusses. The Relentless Company banner I think is nice to have. Obviously the hand weapon and shield guys get the bastion. Vassal levies are great just for sitting somewhere and putting tokens on things, and slaves I think are great just for getting in the way. After playing I've written that wrong, haven't I? Sorry, it says Walking Volcano. It should just say Walking Earthquake. I'd been playing the Rocket Titan for a while, but I thought I was playing a bit too hesitantly, just trying to sort of stay back and shoot things. And I thought, that's not really how I want to play, and it's not so much fun to play against. So I thought I'd take off the Shooty Titan, replace it with the Fast Combat Titan instead. So a bit less shooting, bit more tension. So, there's you.
Yeah.
So we got Dawn Assault, didn't we? And King of the Hill. Mm-hmm. No, not King of the Hill. Sorry, Hold the Ground.
Yeah, Hold the Ground. Yeah. I think the map was called something like King of the Hill, wasn't it?
Was it? All right.
Yeah, something like that.
And anyway, do you want to mention Hold the Ground?
It became apparent that it's not who holds the center at the end of the game, which is what I thought. So I was there with my scoring units waiting to pounce turn 5, and then Kreishmit started taking tokens, and I was like, no, put the tokens back, it's at the end of the game. And then you were like, no, read the rules. And I was, so that was my mistake, and I take full accountability for not reading, especially when I'd rolled it and told you what we'd rolled. So
we had played that one a few times, but I think you had a very busy time recently and were pretty tired, and so you were excused that brain fart, I think.
We should rename the channel "Excusing Each Other's Brain Farts." Well,
I dropped for second turn, and I was no better because I basically managed to get everything in the way of everything else. So I managed to I put the bastion down, I think early. It was probably like second, I think. And I'd just forgotten that the engine needed to be near it to get the engineer benefits off the profit of Nezirkesh. So when I came to put it down, I was like, I don't know where to fucking put it. It's going to have to hide behind and not be able to do anything. And I can't remember what else I'd done. I think I'd got the Titan. I don't know. But I was cursing my own deployment. So I was saying to you earlier, wasn't I? It was a bit like the upper class twits of the year. You were like not remembering how the objective worked, and I was not remembering how deployment worked. But there's me. So I've got the enforcers on the left. There's the engine at the back. The alchemy adept on his bastion in the hand weapon and shield warriors. There's the vassal levies. Big pair of wings is the occultism adept on the little bull with the larger unit of warriors with great weapons and blunderbusses in front. There's the fighty titan or the phyton, and the slaves with the shields in front.
And from the left at the back, those three tiny, tiny, tiny little things are my Feldrax, and I've since bought new Feldrax models because those look very nice on Etsy, and then they appeared and they're teeny, teeny. So I've got Feldrax, then I've got the 2 units of warriors, which are the big blocks, bravely defending the wall, ready to pounce turn 5. Then I've got, just to the right of them, I've got the unit of Forsworn with the Doomlord in it, and then my evocation sorcerer on the dragon, and then on the extreme right is the chosen lord on the Karkadan with the unit of chosen knights. Yeah, it looks like not a lot of stuff compared to the sheer amount of paint on your side of the paint and green stuff and bits of MDF.
Yeah.
My army always just looks small compared to your army, and it's the psychology I fall for every time. I know you're making things bigger because I get more and more afraid the bigger they are.
Yeah. Well, when I went to that last tournament in Stockport, and my first game was against Matt Perris, a lovely guy, and he had this Empire army, but he had the vast majority of it was height standard, and then I think he had 3 large height models, and they was all very nice, but it was like normal large height models. And I put everything down, and he was like, "Oh God!" And I think it worked. He kept saying, "Like, I think the height is intimidating me. Like I'm making bad decisions." Yes.
It is intimidating. It is intimidating for dwarves, and because I always like that you use the goblins as the vassals as well. I think that's really cute. So for dwarves and goblins, it's strange to be towered over by the army.
It's because we're taller than you. That's why.
Dwarves are taller than humans, yeah, especially
Yeah,
chaos
taller than
warriors.
everyone. Taller than everyone. And to highlight that point, I obviously all my dwarf models are all scratch built from bits, but in every single case I cut their feet off because I decided they were too tall. I did try and make an even smaller dwarf to be my overlord. I was going to try and get a guy who was like, I mean, my dwarves are pretty small anyway. They make up for it with their hats. I was going to try and make a guy who was only like up to the nipples of the infantry, and then his hat he'd have like a helmet with another helmet on top, just so that
Like
everyone was the same height.
Napoleon the dwarf, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you could put spirit level across the top of their helmets, and they could go, "We're all the same height," and there'd be the overlord like bobbling around with his like 2/3 height.
Oh, you should put like stiletto heels on him or something.
Yeah. Or paint his helmet to look like another dwarf. Yeah, so anyway, there we go. That was deployment. And I mean, yeah, I'd say I bungled a bit with the deployment. The idea was I always end up putting the Taurucs on a flank because they're fast. The Titan is obviously fast, so I thought stick it there. The slaves like to get in the way. And the idea was try and use the hill to protect the flank of the slaves so that whatever was in the middle, the slaves could go and hold it up without getting flank charged. And then the Titan could hopefully dick about and make a nuisance of itself. The Prophet on the bull, he is fairly fighty, but he's not indestructible. So just kind of worth taking away for you trying to kill it in future. He is only res 5, so it's only the same res as your chosen lord. I mean, I know he's 2+ armor and a 5+ aegis, but he's fairly tanky. But I'm always very cautious with him for that reason because I've managed to throw him away before. It's how I lost against Matt Paris actually. Not to say Matt wouldn't have won anyway, but the point where the game went downhill was where I'd got a bit overconfident with this guy, threw him into combat. Anywho, you went first.
Yeah, so I mean, I think from what you can see from the deployment, I've got the 3 kind of big blocks of reasonably slow, although the Forsworn aren't that slow, but I've got the 2 units of warriors and the Forsworn. They're all scoring, and my big plan was, yeah, keep them behind that wall so they can weather a bit of storm and kind of advance towards the objective in the later game. Bad tactic.
It was a good tactic if we were playing the mission.
Had actually been the mission that we were playing. Yeah. And then I've got like faster units on the outside to try and maybe get around the flank and things like that. So, and I can see, and so you've got the forest there, and I've got the stalker standing on my unit of chosen knights. So my plan is the dragon and the chosen knights are coming around one side, and the Feldrax are kind of coming around the other side, and hopefully they're going to get either round behind or I think what I am worried about the Titan. So putting the chosen knights with the chosen lord in them to go and head off the Titan, and hopefully, if not heading you off, but stopping you flanking me by having the Feldrax guarding the other flank. It was a sort of like an encircle type thing. Big blocks going forward and the fast ones around the side. Fairly standard opening gambit, I guess. And yeah, obviously conscious about the dragon being sniped. So it's got the weird stone. So hopefully, if anything really nasty hits it on turn one, at least the first hit is ignored. But flop into there behind the hill, so she's not getting attacked by everything. So yeah, everything's going well so far. Turn one.
Yes, yes. Solid deployment, looking very good. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, target number one immediately for me was the Feldrax, because they're faster than everything else and they're very scary. And yeah, especially because they're coated in asbestos, and I like to set things on fire. So yeah, I was like, have to deal with them first. And so as you can see from the end of my turn, they're not there anymore. Can you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say what happened. So basically,
I'm choking up. Yeah, you better say it.
It's all right. It's because they're so small. That's why they were like, "Fuck this shite, we're off." Who take the large box? Yeah. So I cast Quicksilver Lash on them, which is flaming, and I got 3 hits.
I think I decided not to dispel it because it was flaming. I thought you'll have to re-roll it. So I thought I just let that through. I wasn't even worried.
And I got 3 or 4 hits, but anyway, I ended up wounding 3 times, and then had to, which is pretty good given that it was only wounding on a 4+, and then had to re-roll all of them because of unburnt, and they all wounded again. So you took 3 wounds, which was 25% of 12, and they didn't have a banner of panic this game.
No,
and they
rolled. I think I rolled an 11 for the discipline.
11, yeah.
And they ran straight off the table. They galloped. They turned tail. So they were gone.
And they didn't have far to go. I think they were pretty. Yeah, they only had about maybe 6 inches, 5-6 inches to go, something like that, I think.
Yeah, that was a big hit because, like you said, that was one of my major threat units. That was a thing in the last battle. They'd done very, very well, and yeah, they were kind of holding up that entire flank. And you've got your fast unit, the enforcers, and all of a sudden they're not there, and I'm like, well, you can just with impunity just come in from the side of my warriors and like chop everything down. So yeah, that was, I mean, you say it's bad luck, but you've got to account for bad luck, haven't you? And they were holding that flank on their own, and I lost that unit, and now it's a very exposed flank, and so things had to reconsider.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, in the movement phase, I didn't know that was going to happen. I was just genuinely terrified about those Feldrax. So I tried to set up a hammer and anvil thing on the right hand side. Put the big unit of warriors ready with sort of clear field to shoot you if you wanted to come around, and then stand and shoot you, relying on the fact that I'd definitely be steadfast if you charged me, and then the Titan could obviously flank charge. And the slaves just, like I say, using the hill here to protect their flank so that they could, if anything wanted to charge into the front, then it'd get stuck there for a bit. And the Prophet on the Bull enjoying the fact that actually no, you didn't need line of sight for your spells, did you? Because Hasten the Hour, you had Hasten the Hour, and Spectral Blades, and Hellfire, and Whispers of the Veil.
Whispers of the Veil. Yeah.
Whispers of the Veil. Yeah. So you didn't need line of sight. And the engine, as I say, I just deployed it badly, so it was just trying to march to get into a better position. But yeah, that was a big relief. And I think my second spell, you dispelled it. I think I tried Silver Spike Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Should have dispelled the first one. Yeah.
But it's a tough one because, I think you made the right decision, didn't you? Because it was the flaming one, whereas Silver Spike isn't. And Silver Spike could have done what, D3 plus 1 wounds, wounding on 3.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate. It was like bad luck that you wounded all of them, and then even worse luck that you re-rolled to wound and then wounded all of them again, and then even worse luck that I rolled an 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. There was no plan for what would happen if I lost them early on in the game, and that's a lesson, I guess.
So then this was the point where I think, well, you can say anyway, your turn.
Yeah, well, it's really tempting at that point where you just the original strategy unfolds. It's really tempting to just charge everything in and get the fight on and just see what point you can get, because the sort of game plan's out the window. But yeah, that's not a great way to play the game. So basically attempted to rapidly redeploy. So the Forsworn are actually reasonably fast. So they're kind of a little bit boxed in. So I think they did a quick reform, and then they're going to try and charge, or at least walk round to take the place where the Feldrax were, because I think in the kind of rock paper scissors, I think Doomlord plus Forsworn still beats Torrican Forces. So if I stick them there, then I'm not going to get my units decimated by the Torrican Forces. So yeah, they're redeploying round, and then the Chosen are tightening up and probably not trying to outflank, but just trying to protect my flank. So we're just trying to get a bit of a tighter formation. Game plan a bit out the window, but at this point you think, well, it's just one unit. It's the most expensive unit and the most scary unit, but I've still got other units. I've still got a Duke Lord and a Bodyguard, and I've still got Chosen Knights and a Great Big Dragon. So I should be able to accomplish something. I think you gave me a bit of a pep talk. You gave me a bit of a pep talk and said, "Don't just charge." I think you could see me thinking of just charging everything in and getting it all over with, and you were like, "Don't do it."
Yeah, you'll definitely lose.
Yeah.
I think you would definitely have lost the game in like 2 turns, and I think it would have would have been a shame to just kind of hand it over like that. I think it was because I think the Chosen Lord and the Chosen Knights would have just died, because I had the Overlord in that unit and the Vizier as well, and like I said, I wouldn't have broken, and then the Titan would have charged in, and I think that would have just been a bloodbath. And then obviously in the middle, just being able to hold up whatever charged into the slaves. I think it was the right decision not to just go, fuck it, charge. And it did make the rest of the game really exciting, because like suddenly, obviously, that thing had gone really well for me, but then I'd set up this thing on the right that was now irrelevant, because you were using your superior speed to go, oh well, fuck it, I'm going this way instead. So I think it did make the game have more like a sort of a 3-act structure, didn't it, rather than just, oh well. So yeah, it was good. So then my turn, I tried to basically respond to that, stick the slaves in the middle, put Hand of Glory on them, which is a wonderful thing to have on resilience for slaves that don't break and have parry, to give them a 5+ Aegis. It's just great. Yeah, so I think I tried to Silver Spike Heidi, but I think you dispelled it, and that'd let me get off Hand of Glory on the slaves. And the Titan was really sitting here with the idea it was going to try and move around and be a nuisance kind of behind you, basically sort of pursue your Chosen Knights round, essentially try and kind of encircle you, I suppose. I was a bit cautious with the Torrican Forces because I thought I don't necessarily need them, What I don't want to do is send them forwards, and then the Forsworn can go, we've got something to charge.
Yeah.
I thought if you were going to be moving your Forsworn round to sort of try and plug this hole, I thought what I'll do is I'll just sit. I'll sit so you're within my charge range, but I'm not within your charge range.
Mm.
And then if you come towards me, I'll just go backwards and just keep going backwards and basically try and tie up that fairly expensive combined unit without having to kill it. And as you can see, this is another example of my bad deployment started because the engine is still stuck behind the ruin, but at least now it's near the engineer. And I think it fired. No, it wasn't in range, so I don't think it fired at anything because I deployed it badly. So there you go. That was that. And that must be you, I guess.
Yeah, so Forsworn still advancing around, and the Chosen Knights kind of turning to face now that they've got the hill between the Titan and themselves, and I can't be charged by the Titan. So I think they're just standing there with the face forwards, not wanting to attack the chaff immediately, but yeah, so they've kind of redeployed to be on that flank, and then the Forsworn are still making the way round. I can't actually remember what spells I was casting in this turn. I was probably just trying to hellfire your slaves.
You've got a spell on the warriors there, so I assume that's Spectral Blades.
On the Chosen Knights?
No, on the warriors here. There's a spell on them.
Is that not one of your spells? Is that not one of the?
Oh, is it Alchemical Fire?
Yeah,
it could be Alchemical Fire. It looks too
my
far
spells
away.
are on. My spells are on lolly sticks. Remember?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
So there's a lolly stick on the Chosen Knights. So I must have cast Hand of Glory on the Chosen Knights.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
And then probably some hellfire on the slaves. I think that's probably what I did.
Right, got you. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting yours are on lollipop sticks. That must be Alchemical Fire, then I must have just stuck it there because it had to go on something. So I guess I must have got an alchemy spell off then. Oh, Heidi's taken a wound. I think I Quicksilver lashed her or Silver spiked her. She's taken a wound.
How can you see that?
Because I was thinking I must have. I had my two alchemy spells are both missiles, and there's no wounds off anything else. So it had to be Heidi. And then so I looked, and there's a little black dice with white dots.
Oh, there is a dice. Okay, yeah, maybe that's what happened. Yeah.
Process of elimination. Yeah.
Okay.
And then my turn 3. So the Titan has obviously gone round the back to encircle the Chosen Knights. The slaves have stayed put. I put Cloak of Cinders on my big unit of dwarves here that you can't see because of the wings, but the guys with great weapons. I think because you'd done hasten the hour. I think in your previous turn, I think you'd done hasten the hour on the Overlord and the Vizier, taking a wound off each of them.
Yeah, and kill the champion. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I went, I don't like that, and put Cloak of Cinders on. So that if you already tried to hellfire them, I think you tried to hellfire them, forcing me to reroll my armor saves. So I put Cloak of Cinders on, so if you did it again, you'd be -1 to wound me. That was it. It was hellfire. And so the warriors are sitting up on the hill where they can blunderbuss over anything. I had this idea they were going to march up on the hill and blunderbuss the Chosen Knights, and then half the Chosen Knights would evaporate. But I think I whiffed. I think I just rolled really low and then didn't really score many wounds, so only did 1 wound or something like that in total. And that's really all there is to report, I guess. The engine, I think, missed. So, or it misfired. I think it misfired and lost a health point. So yeah, it took me 3 turns to get it into position, then it misfired. Oh well.
So I think at this point, although I don't want to just be charging slaves, obviously the dwarves with the blunderbusses are there, and they're just like gonna keep plugging away at the Chosen Knights. So the idea is the Chosen Knights are just better off in combat, and they can't get blunderbussed, I think. So they charged the slaves. The slaves obviously fled, so we redirected into the bastion.
Yeah.
And I just commenced trying to hack down dwarves, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what's happened. I think the sorcerer on the dragon has tried to move around, so you can kind of just see a wing bit sticking
Yeah.
up there from behind the Titan. So the sorcerer is just making sure that she doesn't get charged by the Titan, because even on a dragon, she's not going to survive that. Yeah, and the Force One are continuing to just protect the flank, but have now got into that position to protect the flank of the warriors. Although I think at this point I knew that you weren't going to do anything with those enforcers, but yeah, so we just sort of glared at each other for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of fleeing the slaves, but when you declared that charge, I thought, actually, if I hold, you might blow through them, and then you might be over here where all I've got is goblins and everyone else facing the wrong way. So I thought, now is the time to flee, because the goblins should pass their panic check, which they did. And I thought, there's no way this unit of warriors with a bastion is going to break. Their job is to get charged and be steadfast with all those ranks. They did. So yeah. And it's nice being able to do them 5 wide as well because of the bastion. So I was struggling for ages playing them without a bastion, and I always wanted to play them 10 wide so they all got to shoot. And they're so wide that then maneuvering them was a bit difficult. And just having hand weapon and shield, they ideally wanted to be 5 wide so they got loads of ranks, but then they didn't get many shots. So I thought, stuff it, I'll just build a bastion. And I should apologize, really. The bastion, this is only 1/3 of the bastion. The other 2/3 is still being built, but it is going to be bigger than everything else.
We're going to need a different lens.
Yeah.
Battle reports, some sort of fisheye thing that'll manage to get all your models in.
A little drone that just kind of buzzes around and like zips into everything for those all important close-ups, like this one. So this is my turn. So yeah, this was like that film where all the buildings fall down. So the engine charged into the front. This is the engine charged into the front of the Chosen Knights. The Prophet on the little bull with Flame of the East charging at the flank. The Titan, it does have Swift Stride, but I think I still got a fairly lucky dice roll as well. It charged into the rear. So I think I was saying, wasn't I? Because I wasn't doing that many wounds, and I was saying, I don't know if I'm going to win this combat. But it was because I was too tired to work out what the static combat resolution was from not doing any wounds. But I think it was like 3 ranks from the dwarves, a banner, a charge, a flank, 3 points for the rear. I think I had like 9 points without doing anything. So it was very bloody, wasn't it? And
yes, I think I did kill a lot of dwarves, but yeah, I think just because you were in my back and in my rear and everything, it was only going to go one way.
Yeah, there's a good number of dead dwarves there. I think you killed 8, and they're pretty tanky. So yeah, you killed 8 dwarves, but I think with the static combat res. So a bit hard to make out because the models are all in the way of each other, but you just see that there's one Chosen Knight left, and the Lord survived. I think he was wounded.
Yeah, the Lord's the one that you can see there, kind of on the base, which is made from polyfiller. Deep gap filler, which Schmidt thinks is hilarious. But I use a lot of polyfiller in my modeling. So he's there's one knight and one Chosen Lord running away, as we can see there.
You see, you laugh, but when I was 16, I was in a band called King Bungholio's Twirling Butt Knockers, and we had a song where the lyrics, it was like really kind of heavy, sort of down-tuned guitars, and we had a song where the lyrics were just reading the instructions off the back of a box of polyfiller, because it was like, so the lyrics were like, fills holes and cracks. What was it, like, mix to a firm paste, then apply with a firm tool. It was just brilliant. It was like, oh, there's our lyrics. So the Titan pursued, but you got away with your bloody double maximized running, super fast running away.
And Envy Cavalry, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, you got away. The Titan didn't catch you, but it did pursue into the warriors on the right,
Hmm.
which was good because then that tied them up. The engine just got stuck there. It didn't roll particularly high. I think I restrained with the Bastion, and then the Bull restrained as well. I know the Bastion failed to restrain, didn't it? So it had to go after you, but it basically just ground to a halt behind the engine. That was really it, I think. I had Hand of Glory on this unit, so I think I killed another Goblin, killed another Vassal Levy to get Hand of Glory on that whole unit for if you tried doing a Haste in the Hour again. So you can see there's the wound off on the Overlord and the Vizier. But yeah, that was my turn. I felt like it was in the bag at this point, I think.
Yeah.
And this is your turn. Turn 5.
Yeah, so it's just a bit of a, I'm just watching the Warriors die one at a time here. There's really, yeah, I think things are in the bag here. I mean, I've rallied the Chosen Lord and the one Chosen Knight, but I think I know that I can't get the Forsworn and the Doom Lord into any combat meaningfully because I would just immediately get rear charged by the Torek if I tried to do anything. So they're pretty much out of the game. And I've got 2 units of warriors and one Chosen Lord against all these giant monsters. And the blunderbosses. So it's a bit like, yeah. The one nice thing that did happen on this turn for a Warriors of the Dark Gods player is I got to use my shooting attack.
Yeah.
So my dragon has gone round to the side of the blunderboss warriors there and used the breath attack weapon, and I think I did actually manage to kill a dwarf.
Yeah, you got to
With
use your shooting attack. I got to use my Aegis save.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I didn't get to use my Aegis save, did I? Because I had Hand of Glory on, so it didn't even trigger my. Oh no, it did. That was it. Because Hand of Glory gives you Aegis +1, so I got a 4+ Aegis against fire.
Hmm.
So yeah, we both got to use our shiny toys.
Yeah, it was quite nice.
Yeah,
So that was nice.
you flambéed
That
a
was it. That
dwarf.
that was the only nice thing that happened this turn.
Yeah, yeah, that was it, wasn't it? And then, so then my turn, the Titan has broken the warriors and has pursued them, but didn't pursue far enough. So I was set up for you to flank charge me there. I just tried to position the prophet facing this way so that if you tried to, come round here with the dragon, I could charge you on my turn.
I think I've lost a lot of Forsworn to. Was that Quicksilver Lash again?
I think it was Quicksilver Lash and Silver Spike, because Silver Spike does like up to 5 hits, and so going down the side like through the files, that was good. I think the engine got a mortar hit on you as well.
Oh, that was right. Yeah.
And the blunderbusses were out of range, I think. Yeah, and the Toruks were safe there, just being a nuisance. Slaves rallied. So that was it. The Great Weapon Warriors came down off the hill, and Blunderbuss, I was convinced that I was going to finish this unit off, but actually did very few wounds. I took two off the Chosen Lord. I think that was it. I think again they were pretty blunderbuss proof. So I always used to look at Chosen Knights and think, oh, I think I'll take Warrior Knights because Warrior Knights are armor 6 and Chosen Knights are only armor 5. But they did take a bit of a punishing and not die, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, and they don't even have Hand of Glory on this turn, so I think you must have dispelled that because I definitely would have tried it.
Yeah.
But yeah, putting the Hand of Glory from the Dark Prelate on that unit as well makes them pretty tough.
Yeah. It's great. I love that unit. I love the combination of Chosen Lord and Chosen Knights with Dark Prelate. It's great. And we didn't take any more pictures, did we? Because it was late, and I think we worked out that we only needed to do your charge on the Titan, and then my attempt to kill the Forsworn, and that was it. So we just did that, didn't we?
I think it's pretty obvious from this photograph who's won, and I think when we added up, I haven't actually taken any points off any of your units whatsoever. So I think we just agreed that there was no point in prolonging the agony past midnight. Yeah, that's
We
what
did
she said.
resolve it though, didn't we?
Well,
You
yeah,
did
we
charge
kind
the
of
Titan,
we talked through the things that we would do to see if I
yeah,
might have got any points. Yeah.
and then you did
Uh,
actually charge the Titan, and I think I did actually have my magic phase, my shooting phase on the Forsworn. So I think I managed to
mhm.
kill the Forsworn. I think, yeah, there was a lot of bad luck in that charge, wasn't there? That the Chosen Lord, I think, whiffed with his attacks and then died.
He did die. Yeah. So
I felt a
just,
bit
I
bad
mean,
about that.
we were like, shall we shake hands on it? And you were like, no, let's just see what happens. Just and then you got my general, the extra 200 points.
Yeah, I felt bad. I felt bad about that.
Mhm.
So yeah,
No, you
yeah. So
didn't.
it
No, you
was.
didn't. You didn't feel bad about that. You
I
felt victorious.
did. I did. But yeah, I had remembered how the secondary objective worked. So these three tokens here were from having a bastion sitting in the middle of the table, going, "What are you doing over there? Come at me!"
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 19-1 to the tall guys.
It was a glorious slaughter.
It was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Corn was laughing.
Hmm. Um, yeah, so I think it was just a combination of um, yeah, your good tactics and a little bit of bad luck on both sides. That was just how it rolled.
I think it would have been a much closer game if you hadn't sat behind the wall. If you'd not been so tired and remembered what the objective was, it would have been.
Maybe, yeah.
I do think we're
Um,
pretty evenly matched, so I think
well, what does it say on the screen there? It says
Yeah,
19-1.
I know, but like I think a big part of that was because like I say, you'd had an awful lot going on, and I think we're pretty tired, and then just had a brain fart and forgot how the objective worked. And
Mm.
so the Warriors basically didn't do anything, did they?
Oh, yeah, they did. They got smushed by a Titan. Yeah,
Yes, they did. Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They passively did something. I think actively they didn't do anything. But yeah,
No, they didn't do it. They didn't do anything.
I think if two units of warriors and a unit of Forsworn had decided to hurl themselves into the fray, it would have been a very different game. I think for starters, I wouldn't have been shooting half as much because I had to get my point of me going second was to get my Bastion unit in the middle, racking up those tokens. But then I think if you'd been coming in the middle as well, then I wouldn't necessarily have been getting the tokens, and you might have even been getting them because you might have had more scoring units in the middle. So I think let's just chalk this one up to Dangle having had a difficult week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was good, and like I'm still not sure about the only thing that I might change is obviously I got a dragon for my birthday, so I've got a dragon in my army now, and it's brilliant having a dragon, but it's a lot of points, and it means that you've got you've got to take a wizard master, um, and so it's I'm always thinking, would I be better, having an extra Feldrak and an extra Chosen Knight instead of having the dragon, and they put in the sorcerer just in one of the big blocks of warriors, and maybe not because I don't use 5 and 6. So would I not be better having an adept? So these are the
Right.
questions that I'm thinking of. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice novelty to have a dragon, and it is pretty cool. But if I don't use 5 and 6, it's like you're saving, what is it, 260 points or something like that to upgrade from it for
It's
to have the
170 points difference. Yeah, 170 points difference.
yeah.
But then you'd
Um,
only have two spells plus your two that are restricted to the Chosen Lord for his unit.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Or
you could do
maybe
things like you could take the magical heirloom to always have Hellfire, or you could, if you had an adept, you could use the Book of Arcane Mastery to get a third spell from spells 1, 2, 3, 4. You take Rod of Battle on someone, so you've got like a bound spell with +1. So you can build it up. I think you'd be fairly magic light, and if you're happy with that, that's fine. But that's just worth bearing in mind, I think.
yeah. This is just these are the things that you just ponder over after a heavy defeat. But I don't think I'll make too many big changes. I am actually pretty happy with my magic phase. It does work quite well, and the list itself is quite a good list. There's no massive problems with it. Um, yeah. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see next time if there's any changes on
My
Team
closing
Bengal.
thought. My closing thought on your list is that there's an awful lot of points in that dragon with a sorcerer who has a 50-point weapon enchantment, and
You're
that
obsessed. You're obsessed with that 50 points.
it's not
And
just
if it was on
that.
the other side, you would tell me that 50 points won't win me a battle. You would say.
It's not
You would
just that.
say
It's not
50
just
points
that.
won't make a difference.
But it's the combination of Hero's Heart and a dragon, and that model has never charged anything
It
ever.
has. It has.
Has it?
Yeah.
Oh, in that one game where it was down to 1 health point, and you were like, "Well, I either just leave it here and it gets shot, or I charge and I might kill something." That's the one time it charged.
I've got lots of things that I've never charged. They keep getting charged. I'm waiting for the right time.
Heidi has been in combat once on that dragon. You could do everything that she
But
does.
I've only
She could
played
do on a
3 games.
horse.
I've only played 3 games with the dragon, and she was in combat one of the 3 games.
I suppose, yeah. I still think, yeah.
And if this battle had gone right, then the chosen knights would have charged something, and the sorcerer on the dragon would have supported that charge. That's why they were together on that flank.
Right.
So the plan, yeah, there's a time to surf and there's a time to wax your board. and she's waxing her board.
I still think Heidi could do everything that you do with her on a horse, but better because it's much harder to see a horse, and it costs less to feed it, and it doesn't piss fire.
It doesn't eat the sheep, and
then you could swap the Doom Lord for another Chosen Lord, and put him on the dragon. So you'd still get your Dark Prelate goodies on the Chosen Knights, because you'd have that Chosen Lord. And then you'd still get to use your dragon, but you wouldn't be like, well, I don't want it in combat because then I can't cast that spell, or I want to be doing magic over there, or whatever.
Yeah, I have thought of a list with 2 Chosen Lords. It would be quite good. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, there's too much tinkering. Too much tinkering.
I am happy with my list. The only change I'm making is that the Overlord was just sort of like, it'd be nice to have, but I'm not going to keep him in. I don't think I need him. So I'm just kind of rolling back to a sort of previous version. We're keeping the 3 Adepts, but otherwise basically the same. Anyway, Thank you everybody for watching and bearing with us. We are largely useless, as you can tell. So the game results are largely academic.
Anyway, yeah, we'll see you next time, and happy wafting.
Happy wafting, aye. Gan Raj with your wafters. See you later.